What's going on, guys? If you're a Texas Rangers fan like me, or just a baseball or sports fan in general, then you know today's Major League Baseball opening day, which is big news for sports fans. I'm going to go and jump into this video. We're talking about the Texas Rangers opening day roster. That was announced yesterday, and there's a couple surprises here and there. So starting at catcher and the infield, we brought back Robinson Chirinos this year, and I think that was definitely a good move to use him as a stopgap until Sam Huff is ready to take over, hopefully, the long-term catcher of the future role. It looks like at this point, Jose Trevino, who's being brought in as the backup this year, it looks like that's kind of what we portray him from now on, is kind of the backup of the future, I guess you could say. And I think Sam Huff, Jose Trevino is probably going to be the future of the team at that position. But for now, I think it's smart bringing Chirinos back. We really needed help at the catcher position last year. You know, he's still hitting like the 230s in Houston, and he's averaging 15 to 20 home runs a season. And it's interesting to see how he's all of a sudden hitting for power in his mid-30s. But hey, whatever works. I did notice Jeff Mathis also made the roster as a third catcher. And guys, I'm kind of at the point with him where I'm like, why isn't he just being brought in as like in a coaching role? You know, he's 40 years old, and it seems like somebody else could get the roster position. You know, I'd have to sit and think about the other catchers on the roster, but let's go with the infield. We got first base. It looks to me like Todd Frazier, the Todd father, is being brought in to platoon at first base with Ronald Guzman, and I was a little surprised to find that out. I really thought that Todd Frazier was being brought in as kind of the stopgap at third base until Josh Jung was ready. And it kind of seems like we might have a bit of a rotation in the infield now, because we got Frazier, who can play first and third. We got Guzman, who, you know, probably platooning at first, but he can't really hit lefties, and he's been struggling. And the thing about Ronald Guzman is, if you watch his highlights, and you watch his, you know, acrobatic plays at first base where he does the splits, you watch his home run swings, and you're like, gosh, this guy's got to be an all-star. And you see he bats in like the 220s, 230s. You know, he gets on base okay, but not great at all. And I'd really like to see his bat get better this year. That's one big thing if we're going to improve as a team. Then Odor at second. And Nick Solak's going to be listed as an outfielder, but he can play second too. And I believe Rob Refsnyder has played second base before, and he's a name we'll talk about a little later. But you know, Odor struggled greatly last year, but he's been hot or cold his whole career. So hopefully he can kind of pick back up the earlier trajectory of his career and have a better season, and hopefully he can be the everyday starter. Third base, it looks like we're going to try and roll with Isiah Kiner-Falefa and just see where that goes. You know, like I said, Todd Frazier can play that position as well. I'm trying to think of who else. Nick Solak can definitely play third base. You know, Joey Gallo started his career as a third baseman. So we have a lot of options there. But, you know, assuming guys develop, or the infield isn't too bad. Now, Elvis Andrus, you know, he's had this shortstop role for forever now. And one thing I would like to see is us consider in the future possibly using him as he ages as a stopgap at third base. You know, right now he's probably still athletic enough to play shortstop, and he's a good fielder. Yeah, he has 10 plus errors each season, which isn't great. But besides that, he's pretty solid infielder. I would like to see how he translates to third base. Obviously, he hits 10 to 20 home runs a season, which is a lot better than he did at the beginning of his career. It's not great for a third base bat, but I mean, at the same time, Todd Frazier, Isiah Kiner-Falefa, those aren't power hitters either. So now we're going to talk about the outfield. I'm having a look at a little sheet to see the names for outfielders, but we got Willie Calhoun starts in left field. We all know that. He'll be splitting some time probably with Shin-Soo Choo. Hopefully Shin-Soo Choo can still play the outfield some. Hopefully he can still hit. You know, he's also getting into advanced age. He's like 37, 38. And I do worry about his bat kind of falling off some. And that's something we really got to rely on, Choo's bat and Calhoun's bat, because they're two of the better hitters on the team besides like Andrus. In center field, we have Danny Santana, who's not a great outfielder, but he was a really surprisingly good bat last year. And I hope that continues. And if not, we have a lot of guys that can play center field. I mentioned Joey Gallo earlier. I think he'll be starting in right field, but he can play center. I'm going to get to him later, actually. But, sorry, I have to look at the names again. Nick Solak. Yeah, that's who I was trying to think of. Nick Solak can play center field. I believe Rob Refsnyder can also play center field. So he's another. Him and Solak both are listed as outfielders on the Rangers website, but they're both infield, outfield. They can kind of play all over the place. And then the one name I keep forgetting. Oh, Scott Heineman. So I was kind of surprised to see him make the roster, to be honest, just because we have so many outfielders on this roster. But what shocked me even more was Leody Taveras making the roster, which I think is awesome. This is kind of his opportunity. Both of those guys. Scott Heineman's like 27 years old. It's at this point he's got to prove if he's a Major League Baseball player. He's got to show something, and I hope he does. I wish him all the luck. Hopefully he'll get some opportunities in center field. I'm sure we'll kind of rotate earlier in the season. But then Leody Taveras, he's been in the minor league organization for forever now, it seems like. He's still really young, but it's going to be interesting to see how his bat starts to translate to Major League Baseball. His outfielding is definitely a plus, so it would be really good if he could kind of take over that center fielder role and also bring in some youth to the organization, to the club. So now we're going to talk about starting pitching. Actually, let me make sure I got all the names. I did. Okay, so starting pitching. The big signing this year, Corey Kluber from the Cleveland Indians, kind of got burnt to the ground, and I don't know what I'm trying to say. Driven to the ground. He got burnt out last year. Pitched a lot of innings is my point, basically. We don't really know what's left. He kind of injury ridden. I hope he can still be that everyday starter that we really need him to be. Not everyday starter. I'm slipping up too much in this video, but every 5 days, give us the start we need. But I will say our rotation, guys, is looking pretty good. Number 2 spot, we got Lynn, who was really good last year, and he's been pretty solid throughout his whole career. So I expect even if Kluber struggles some, Lynn's going to step it up, and he's kind of been our ace in the past, and so is Mike Minor, who will be our number 2 or number 3 with Lynn. And so at the top, we're pretty heavy in our rotation. Not young, but not looking bad. And let me look at our number 4 starter. I have his name on the tip of my tongue, Kyle Gibson. And so that's another guy, veteran we brought in this year, who I think will be a solid 4 starter. He's not great. He's okay. He throws a sinker, gets a lot of ground balls. Hopefully we'll get a lot of double plays out of it. I know Rougned loves to turn the doubles at second. So that's pretty much my thoughts for him. At 5th, Jordan Lyles. I live in South Carolina. He's a South Carolina boy, so it's kind of cool to see him on the roster. Unfortunately, I think he's also on the wrong side of 30, or getting close to 30 anyway. He might be 29. But I think he's a really solid number 5 pitcher. Is he worth the $16 million over 2 years that we gave him? Maybe not. I think his career ERA is like a 5 point something, so it is what it is. I think with the rest of the rotation, we're sitting pretty decent, because we also have a lot of guys in the bullpen who have started previously or are being groomed to start. So now's a good time to take a look at the bullpen. Jose Leclerc's a closer. Hopefully we'll see him a little more this year, and hopefully he'll step his game up. But, he wasn't bad last year. Really solid pitcher. He's got good stuff. Throws a great fastball. Has good movement on his slider, his curve. Jonathan Hernandez, guy I can't really tell you much about. I looked, he has pitched in the pros for the Rangers in the past. I did recognize the name, but I just don't know a ton about him. His ERA isn't terrible. I'd like to see less names like that on the roster, or more established bullpen pitchers like Jeremy Jeffries or Jake Diekman. Speaking of Diekman, we only have 2 lefties on the roster, and they're both guys that I think are being groomed to start in the future. Like Colby Allard is one of the guys in the bullpen. Joe Palumbo. So I think those guys are starters in the minors, and it'll be interesting to see how we work the bullpen this season, because we do have a lot of kind of lesser known names, and then guys that have started in the minors. Another starter we brought in to pitch in the bullpen is Edinson Volquez, and he actually retired last year, and we kind of talked him into coming back for one more season. So I'm excited to see him pitch, see if he can still pitch at the pro level. And we got a couple more names. I'm looking real quick. Nick Goody, Luke Farrell. I think they might have been on the roster last year and just, average at best. Like I said, those are the kind of guys I'd like to see a little better quality in the bullpen. But Jesse Chavez has been really good, and he is aging, but he doesn't throw that hard in general. So I think he's one of those guys that he'll age well into his late 30s. He's got good stuff. He's got average stuff, I should say, but he can really pinpoint where he places the ball. And I think that's it. Oh no, Ian Gibbo. So another guy in the Nick Goody kind of realm. Gibbo's played for I think Tampa Bay, a couple other teams. So it'll be interesting to see in the bullpen. We have 9 guys in there who steps it up and who kind of fodders. But guys, hope you enjoy watching my channel. If you do me a favor, like, comment, subscribe. I'll get more used to talking in front of the camera the more I do it, I promise. And I'm definitely going to have some more Texas Rangers content, some Dallas Cowboys content, and some San Antonio Spurs content coming soon. Opening day for the Rangers is tomorrow. I'm not sure if I'll get this posted today or tomorrow, so we'll see. But I'll definitely do a little review after the game. Just some thoughts and takeaways from that first game against Colorado Rockies. And I think that's about it. I'm out. Peace.